Revenge films.
In my childhood home, my grandfather and father had diabetes, so we didn't have the habit of using sugar. Our family's cooking was to be light in seasoning. A 1-kilogram bag of sugar would last for a year. But my husband's family had a very sweet tooth. Even in stir-fried vegetables, they would add sugar for richness and glossiness. Naturally, they used a lot of salt to balance it up. When we were newly married and living with my in-laws, every time I cooked, my mother-in-law would say it lacked flavor and throw away the dishes I made. Indeed, tastes differ between households. Ours was lightly seasoned, but my in-laws was excessively strong, everything tasting sweet. When we had home-baked cake during Easter, I got heartburn after just 3 bites. But my mother-in-law insisted that since I was married into the family, this flavor would become the household taste. Yet despite urging me to cook, every time I did, she would just throw it all away. Since my family suffered from diabetes, I was taught quite strictly by the doctors about being careful in how to season food. So I even advised my mother-in-law that eating such rich and sweet dishes all the time could lead to illness like in my family. But she replied,
"Huh? We won't get sick. We've always done it this way. Your parents are just weak. Don't bring strange tastes into our house because of that."
Since I was constantly criticized like this every time I cooked, I discussed it with my husband and he told her off for me multiple times. But if he wasn't around, she would repeat the same things and there was no improvement. In the end, living together became unbearable, and we ended up living separately within half a year. My husband had eaten my dishes many times since we started dating, and he had even been to my parents' house so he could handle light flavors. But having eaten my in-laws' food for so long, he got flagged in a health checkup shortly after we moved out from in-laws' house. So he became even more health conscious. Together with my food, he got slimmer in a few months. His colleagues even said that he looked healthier. He seemed happy because he had lost weight and got healthier just by eating my food every day. But my mother-in-law didn't like how he got slimmer in a few months. She started saying things like,
"Because my son's wife doesn't feed him properly, he's become haggard. He's become skin and bones."
And when my husband heard about those rumors and scolded his mother, she showed no sign of remorse, saying,
"What's wrong with being concerned about my son? We don't need a daughter-in-law who refuses to live with us. Get divorced quickly."
So my husband turned to my mother-in-law and went,
"Hey, I got flagged in my health check, so I made some lifestyle changes and dropped a few pounds naturally, all right? Stop talking nonsense around the neighbors and quit sticking your nose into our marriage."
My mother-in-law just couldn't stand me, so every time she opened her mouth, it was like,
"I've never seen such a terrible cook. I'll find you a better wife who can cook, so take the divorce settlement and leave."
She kept saying such things even though my husband repeatedly told her off. Living separately from them made things easier, but her constant comments were still bothering me. However, after a while, my mother-in-law suddenly became quiet. I thought maybe my husband had talked to her, but he said he hadn't said anything. Turns out both of my in-laws had developed diabetes and were suffering from symptoms. Eating such food would make anyone sick. Frankly, I'm surprised they didn't get sick sooner. Before they suffered from diabetes, my mother-in-law would say things like, "You poor thing, you didn't grow up eating such delicious food like I made. That's why your palate hasn't developed." And she had made fun of my family's taste. But now that they themselves have diabetes, they want me to cook for them because I've mastered the light seasoning. She started saying, "If you want us to live longer, come and cook for us." I didn't particularly care, so I didn't go to cook for them. It seems my mother-in-law can only cook with heavy seasoning, and apparently the food became dramatically worse. Then my mother-in-law came to our house and said, "I'll evaluate whether your cooking is improved or not, so make something." I reluctantly made something, and she immediately packed up everything and took it home. And then the next day she came again, saying, "Come on, make something quickly. I'll evaluate it again. Make at least 5 dishes." So I said, "I don't want to. It seems you don't like my seasoning, so why don't you make it yourself?" And I sent her away. And from then on, I stopped cooking whenever she came. She even showed up at my husband's company and caused a scene, so my husband and I decided to go to my in-laws' house together. On that day, my in-laws happened to be going to another prefecture for a short trip, so I sent a message to my mother-in-law saying I had made food for the 2 diabetic people and put it in the fridge. First, I boiled water in a large pot and dissolved gelatin powder. Then I divided it all into types of containers I could find in the kitchen. Lastly, I filled the large pot to the brim. And since I thought it would be hard to eat without any taste, I left a sample of sweetener that I had gotten from the pharmacy. My husband laughed and said,
"With this much, they won't have any trouble for food for a while."
And finally, we put the keys to my in-laws' house in the mailbox and a letter saying, "We've moved for a new job." And though we didn't tell them, my husband was offered a transfer to a new branch. We had decided together to take the offer because his salary would increase. The day my mother-in-law came to his office was the last day at work. The move-in procedures were easy thanks to my husband's company having multiple company housing everywhere in the country. We were able to move into a spacious and beautiful company housing. And most importantly, the new transfer location was about 10 hours away from my in-laws' place. Thinking that this would put an end to my mother-in-law's annoying inquiries, I was taken aback when she showed up at his office. So we decided to go to my in-laws' place and make them a meal one last time. Gelatin is easy to dissolve. My husband was enjoying stirring it. After that, we put everything in the refrigerator at my in-laws' place. Thanks to that, their refrigerator was packed full with containers of gelatin, to the point where nothing else could fit in anymore. That night, after we had already sent our belongings to the new house and went to the hotel to finish up the remaining procedures, as expected, my mother-in-law called. When my husband answered the phone, she was freaking out by looking at the mountain of gelatin in the fridge, asking what we were going to do. But my husband said,
"With gelatin, you can season it to your liking, it lasts long, and it has no calories. It's good, right? Don't throw them away, I made them for you."
On the other end of the line, she was yelling things like, "I do not accept this. Where's the proper meal? You haven't cooked anything." But I thought, after throwing away all the dishes I made until now, you have no right to ask me to cook for you. After that, she asked about the move and our new address, but my husband said we forgot the address and hung up. Our new place is indeed 10 hours away, but she might send the packages anyway to start living together again if she found out our address. And we didn't want that at all. After a few years, she said she wanted to live together because her diabetes had worsened or she couldn't work anymore, but I don't care. It's her own fault. By the way, thanks to my parents' strict management, their numbers have improved a lot, and they're living energetically without suffering from symptoms. My husband has become even healthier, and now his health checkups are receiving compliments from the doctors. It's really important to take good care of your health.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.